Hey everybody, how are we doing today? So this is gonna be my persuasive speech. So today we live in a world where marijuana has been criminalized since I would assume most of us were born, and it has always been normal to grow up with the negative stigma of marijuana. Going through the DARE programs, the great programs that I talked about previously in my informational speech. But what most of us don't know is why was it illegal in the first place? Why has this drug become so negatively viewed upon society since it's been criminalized? Well, what the most marijuana became very popular in the early 20th century, and during that time, it was very fair to say that the United States was not at a state of racial sensitivity. Um, Needless to say, cutting it clean and dry, the United States was very racist. Like, this was a time where we did not give regard to race, color. We had very racist laws in place, such as Jim Crow laws, which were ultimately lifted up during the Civil Rights Movement of 1964. Um, but one big thing that got marijuana on the minds of the United States citizens and why we see it so negatively. So, the Mexican Revolution ended in 1910. After the Mexican Revolution ended, there was a lot of influx of Mexican immigrants coming into the United States. And coming up on that, during that time, as a couple decades go by, you're in the Great Depression. It's the 30s, and you still have Mexican immigrants coming by, and this is where our stigma of Mexicans are taking our jobs kind of come into play. The unemployment rate was incredibly high. Great Depression, very bad times, very troubling times, and it was a lot, cheaper to hire Mexican immigrants to, you know, do work, not get paid under the table, however you want to do it. And so, obviously, United States citizens did not like that. But along with Mexicans came with marijuana, hence the name marijuana sounds very Spanish esque. The Mexicans were bringing in marijuana across the border, and so marijuana eventually became associated with Mexicans. So ultimately, of course, we cannot allow marijuana whatsoever in the United States if they're associated with Mexicans at this time, early 20th century. And not only were Mexicans on it, but during this time, you got the 20s, Harlem Renaissance kind of time, 20s, you know, late 10 sort of thing. You got jazz musicians in Harlem, New Orleans, they're all coming out smoking reefer, and America didn't like black people too either. So, of course, along with marijuana being associated with Mexicans, marijuana was also associated with African Americans. And most of America at the time was white, Caucasian, and we were very racist. And, hence, years down the road, the civil rights movement. But that was a very large reason for the United States not to like marijuana. So why should we have to keep following the same law that has been put in place in the early 20th century with racist ties, and we still have to follow the law? Marijuana is illegal. We're still going to follow these racist thought out laws. Marijuana should be legalized because of the racist roots it has, from the prohibition in the first place, and the absolute medical wonders that marijuana can work, that has been scientifically proven by Harvard doctors, Harvard scientists, scientists all over the globe. It has become a very big thing. CBD, the use of THC, oil this, oil that, and it helps people. Why would we not want to make this legal? Well, to continue on the racist roots of marijuana. During the Great Depression, like I said earlier, unemployment was at an all-time high, ultimately led, Mexicans stealing our jobs, that sort of thing. And throughout the 30s, there was an evil distaste, bitter liking of marijuana. And it was a very popular propaganda, stopping the evil weed. And eventually, during the 30s, by 1931, there were already 29 different states to outlaw marijuana, and ultimately federally outlawed in 1937 by the Marijuana Tax Act, which prevented the possession and use of marijuana. So why do we need to keep going on with these racistly tied law? Like, it's get over it. Come on, it's 2020. Black Lives Matter. I love it. That sort of thing. Racial equality, whatever. So going on to the medical benefits versus of marijuana versus opiates, particularly. So the main ingredients in marijuana, you have THC and CBD. THC and CBD are what makes medical marijuana such an absolute wonder. It's been shown to prevent seizures, reduce anxiety, reduce pain, which ultimately pain has been such a big deal that we deal with, and we ultimately result to opiates. And in 2018, there were over 67,000 deaths related to opiates, and there were 0 deaths related to cannabis, marijuana whatsoever in 2017. Are you kidding me? We have an alternative right in front of us for pain relief, but yet it is federally outlawed and decriminalized in some states at state levels. But why not full on have the federal lift of marijuana? Now it's sitting right in front of us, and some of us can't even have access to it. For sure, us in the state of Georgia, we cannot have marijuana. There's no medical marijuana, recreational, none whatsoever. It is being restricted for anybody who needs it for healthcare reasons, pain reasons. Get people off the opiates. The opiate epidemic is a very, very big thing. Overdoses happen every single day. If we have an alternative to pain relief, why are we not using it, and why are we not decriminalizing it? So pretty much to wrap this thing all up, the legalization of marijuana has been long overdue. The motives behind criminalizing it in the first place were extremely racist and should not still be implemented and followed and enforced. And there are studies that show marijuana can work medical wonders. I don't know. I just felt like I dropped the mic. If you disagree, I'm sorry. I'm sorry, but you're just wrong.